That is not a cup of coffee. That is your daughter's cup of coffee, no?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Susan and I were just comparing. She's got this nice mug here. This is all I've got.
Matching my jewelry, obviously.
This was Chelsea Williams, I think, sent this from Core Solutions. So Chelsea, if you're watching, thank you, and you rock just as hard as I do. All right, so we are here. I don't know, maybe we're crazy, Susan, because this is the day before Thanksgiving. It is 5 p.m. Central Time. Everyone is clocking off, clocking out, and here we are talking about the psychology and the strategy of being a high performer. So let's kick.
You wouldn't believe in my life, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday was the days where more people are going, because I was talking about toxic personality. I have a hostage negotiator talking about de-escalation and family gatherings. And today we talk about body language myth. People went ballistic and everybody's looking for an excuse to guess says, I'm sorry, I need to take this outside. Let's give me a break. All your family is gathering today. Everybody's arriving. Everybody's
Well,
looking for an excuse to get away.
let me tell you why that people were interested in that, especially with the former hostage negotiation background. Many people this holiday will feel like they are a hostage
You
at their
you know
dinner tables. So
you are a hostage in your own family, and we talk about behavior. The reason that is so painful to be in that situations is because your home, the place they see you born, is the place where you're supposed to feel safest the most. And
sure.
when that the dynamic get toxic again, for good or for bad, it hurt. And by the way, any dynamic that you have as a kid, I always says I was the shorter one. Everybody was over 6 foot. I just grow suddenly, but I was the small one. They have the dynamic. Oh, she's the small one here and there. When we get together with my parents, they think they're still the smaller one. Now I can punch back, but the dynamic in the beginning was the same one. And the people that we have problems as a kid, we're going to have problems as a long ones. And guess what? For lawyers, these are the season for PI, personal injury, and divorce. Only in the Chicago area, 11,000 people last week were looking for divorce lawyers. We gathering data and we work with lawyers. I'm like, how many people? Like 11,000. Like, what? Only in the Cook County.
Yeah, I would agree. So before we jump in, because obviously we're both chomping at the bit to be able to provide a cool organic conversation right before the holidays. Here's a quick upfront contract with you. If for any of my Sandler training folks out there, what I'm talking about is the fact that we are going to go for about 20 to 25 minutes here, and the topic at hand is going to be how high performers can channel their knowledge of human psychology and what's required from that front. That's what Susan brings, being, as she mentioned, a former hostage negotiator, political consultant, and very many career paths and professions that I don't understand that even at the slightest, but she does, and that's what's important. And then from the technology perspective, I'm going to talk about the tactics, the strategies, the things that I've seen present themselves as useful frames to view growing your business from a strategic standpoint. So we're going to bring that together. I am the current co-chair of the Chicago Bar Association Legal Practice Management and Technology Committee. So everything I breathe, and sleep is legal tech and operations. And I also founded a group called the Managing Partner Advisors Committee, which is a legal adjacent think tank of professionals. We get together to discuss trends within the legal profession, provide strategic guidance to each other's clients, and ultimately create standards that move the profession forward. So I think those are the bona fides. You've got some folks here that are extremely knowledgeable and nuanced when it comes to law firms and the mentality and the ultimately the mindsets required for creating change. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about the first component, which is, I know you mentioned that, and I've seen some similar to statistics around divorce. As a matter of fact, I was just talking with a dear friend of mine yesterday, Beth Slate, who is a divorce coach. She's got all the credentials that make her especially proficient in helping individuals who are going through the process of divorce. And she was telling me that I think there was if I'm referencing properly, is a Stanford study that showed that in the average workforce, there are 24% of your employees that are navigating divorce currently at any given point in time. So people think that divorce is something that only affects those in the proceedings and the attorneys handling those kind of matters, but it also spills out and has effects on every organization, because these individuals are dealing with these extremely stressful, sometimes toxic scenarios. sometimes exacerbated by things like the holidays and Thanksgiving, and oh, that turkey brine didn't turn
Ooh.
out just right as it was supposed to, and that can make things boil over. So let's talk from that perspective when it comes to that element. How do you look at the process of sort of finding the calm in that, and ultimately still being able to perform at a high level as an attorney who's managing these various competing objectives?
It's never about the trash. Listen to me again. It's never about the trash. You're not arguing. You're not getting divorced because he's not taking the trash. You're not getting divorced because she didn't iron your shirt. Okay? So, with the same says, all the arguments are usually blow out, but the minimum things that we know that we can attack, because the serious topics cannot be talked about it, or the serious topic require then I need to own my part of the conflict. So with this, they said, unfortunately, when you are on in a company setting, you cannot divide so much church and state. It's impossible. And human resource is on a position where they are afraid. Oh, I'm gonna connect my computer. Sorry, but we have for the ones who are in the Midwest, knowing that we have one of the worst storms that we're gonna have in the year, and I was plugging all my things, and my computer is telling me, "Please get me shoes." Now I'm lighting. So human resources kind of tie in their hands with all the movement and all the conflicts happening in the last 5 years. They're afraid to talk. So the same people who accuse HR, now they suffer for because HR is afraid to talk. Everybody's afraid to talk with coworkers on the office. Everybody's afraid to offend somebody else. But you need to start paying attention. Pay attention to deviation of the norms. Pay attention to escalation and aggressiveness. Pay attention to escalation of happiness. Nobody cross a divorce, even if the most amicable divorce, without lacking a lot of things that are basic, being seen, being heard, and understood. Beside all the other things that are people don't see as normal: sex, caring, food, shelter, clothing. All those things are deprived when you go into a divorce. So when you put everything together, and a law firm is like a combustion waiting to happen. You need to learn to say, I can, when you are too compromised. You need to say, you shouldn't be on the meeting. We need to start addressing things as they are. And you as a person need to understand you're on a class of stress level. When you're on adrenaline all the time, you're burning all the time fuel. What happened? If you're burning, you like motorcycles, you like fast cars. I used to. When you burning, in some point you need to stop the car to recover. So if you're burning in your personal life and in your business life, something is going to get burned, something is going to get crashed, and some things cannot be recovered. Let's not be your job, since it's not your marriage.
Now, you bring up a good point, because one of the things I know, and I only know this, I would say primarily because of the conversations that I've had with my friend Beth, the divorce coach, and one of the things that she was describing to me is that, and this all happens behind the scenes because I'm typically brought in to address the technology deficiencies that a law firm has, but so it's not often that I get into the psychological components of how the lawyers are interfacing with their staff as well as their clients of the firm. So what Beth told me is that typically what happens is this: specifically in a family law divorce context, you have two individuals who tensions are high. They can be, especially if there's assets being disputed, or if there's claims of one party saying that other is dissipating those same assets, or essentially for to keep things in layman's terms, they're hiding money, right? So in these sort of scenarios, it can make tensions flare. Now, typically what happens is that the client will use their attorney as their therapist. They will call them, they will vent to them, they will explain their frustrations, they will tell them that things aren't fair, that they're not just. And they're venting and venting and venting. Now, the attorney has a job to do. The attorney has to execute and be completely, they have to decouple the emotional component of this so that they can execute and ultimately get the best resolution for their client. So how can you do that if you have a client who's constantly barraging you with questions and sort of queries into why the process doesn't seem to be as fair as it should be? So one of the things that I'm finding is that attorneys need to be able to
Systems and protocols.
understand. Well, right, we'll get there. We'll get there to the systems and protocols. But I think attorneys first, before we address that, the attorneys need to be able to know how to engage with their clients in a way that's productive, but also to set the boundaries or sort of the rules of engagement from the beginning. Here are the things that you should call for, right? Here are the things that are normal. Here are the things. Here's how you sort of setting the expectations from the beginning, so that the client knows as they go through the process. Because I think so often as professionals, and this goes for anyone watching, no matter what profession you're in, we tend to be absorbed by the work that we do on a day-to-day basis, and we forget that for many of the clients we work with, this is their first encounter with this type of engagement or problem. So what may seem normal and commonplace to us may be completely,
It is completely.
it's novel for your client. So when there's some sort of motion file that your client doesn't understand, and they just log into the court portal and they see that motion, your client is obviously freaking out. So again, this is where the systems and process come into play. The more proactive you can be when you know that motion has been filed by opposing counsel, being able to quickly ascertain that that motion's been filed, summarize what it means in layman's terms, and then send that communication proactively to your client, you then decrease drastically the number of times that clients call in for extraneous questions relating to their matter. And guess what that means for you as the attorney? That means you get to spend more of your time towards actually advancing that matter and other matters you have forward, rather than constantly firefighting. And that tends to be what happens over time, is that attorneys become so reactive because you're just constantly moving,
Yeah,
trying to.
but you know what happened, Jay? Let me tell you something. You don't need to know everything that I do. When I work with people, systems and protocol, I completely agree. But at one point, the lawyer need to be the lawyer. So when system protocol is, you don't need to believe me. You need to trust me. You need to understand what I'm doing. You need to trust me. If you're here, is because you trust the process. Now, how the process is going to happen is going to be a lot of BS. Why? Because every time that your ex or soon to be ex file for something, I need to file for something to keep them entertained enough and assertive that don't mess with me, don't mess with my client. You're going to understand the terminology. You don't need to. With financial advisors, let's put it in another context, maybe it's easy to understand, is you have two clients, the one who think they know it all and the ones who don't know anything. Guess what the financial advisor prefer to work with? The ones who doesn't know anything because they don't get the no's. So explain the protocol. If it's between lawyers, the word client for a lawyer is another lawyer. It's like a doctor, worst patient is another doctor. Well, explain the protocol, and it's going to be a lot of BS. That is what is negotiation. That is what mediation. That is where you play with the patient. You let the dog get tired on the park before the dog get inside the house. We need to understand that people's mind need shortcuts. We talk about the system one, how the brain and behavioral happen. 95% Homer Simpson, 5% Albert Einstein. You need to leave your client running in Homer Simpson, because you need to run an Albert Einstein, and it's okay. It's not personal. I don't think you're not the capability to feel or understand. Is that you feeling too much? And behind that, whatever is happening on the legal setting, you don't know what is the fight, if they're still living under the same roof, if they still need to see each other because of the kids, because they work together. You know how many couples are divorcing and they still need to have the business together, and suddenly they realize they're destroying everything beside the family they have? It's happened. Love go away. They're destroying the company they have. So I would say onboarding. The same way that you do onboarding when you bring a new employee to your account, to your company, you need to do onboarding when your clients. And you need to explain, this is not a matter to talk with me. This is a matter of venting. These are support groups, and this is our therapists. It's always good to pair with a psychology office, where it says, this is a group of psychologists that specialize, divorce coaches. Sometimes they bring me not because I'm a psychologist, it's because I'm a behavioral person. And what I do is I take away the pressure of the lawyers, and I start building the person to negotiate more strength and understand where they need to play dumb and when they need to play intelligent. There are so many sources for the lawyers. The lawyer need to be able to do your work. If you listen to this as a lawyer, systems and protocol, you're not going to lose the client. If you're thinking about I get a divorce or talking with a divorce lawyer, understand that you don't need to understand in a step, because he doesn't need to understand absolutely everything you do either. A doctor doesn't need to keep you awake during the surgery to explain you why they're taking your spleen. But when you say that, like, oh, yeah, it's true. Look for examples. Doctor, surgeon, you want to be awake during the surgery so I explain you what I'm doing? I don't think so. You don't want to be open for this surgery because it's as painful as doing a surgery without anesthesia.
Although I will say, providing the sort of setting the ground rules and explaining what to expect beforehand can be beneficial. In the case, imagine you have a patient and you're saying, since we're using your surgery, your surgery example, that patient wakes up and the doctor's no longer there and they're not sure what happened. They're not sure how much time passed. Oh, it's the effects of the anesthesia. Imagine not knowing that beforehand. So the doctor, they have a role of keeping you apprised of the things that you should expect as you go.
It's called triage. It's called triage. You have people who prep you for surgery and people who is next to you carrying your hand when you walk away. There are protocols in surgery. I work with a lot of doctors that have been sued for malpractice. Guess what? 78% of the doctors that are sued is not malpractice. It's bad problem with protocols and systems. The triage didn't work. The surgeon cannot be holding your hand. Oh, it hurt? Well, I just opened your chest. The nurse need to be there. That's the reason we have nurses. That's the reason you talk to the anesthesiology. You talk to the cardiology. I don't want to sound rude, but in a sense of urgency and crisis, you have a triage set. If you as a lawyer don't set your triage, it's not going to happen. I have more surgeries than I can count. I break my neck. I need to make a lawsuit against someone. Guess what? In neither of my surgeries, I talk to the surgeon. The surgeon sometimes comes and says, hey, Susan, well, this is going to happen. Let's cross finger. Everything is going to be great. I'm going to see you in recovery. The nurse is with me, not even your family. The nurse is with you. And then the doctor says, Susan, everything was okay. I'm going to see you tomorrow. They're going to move it to the room. That's it. And sometimes the surgeon doesn't even come. But it's a system of protocols. They make you feel safe because you know that you're going to have somebody there.
And I want to emphasize your point. None of this happens by accident. This is all a well-designed, highly choreographed experience from start to finish. It's not an accident that the nurse was there to sort of allay your concerns relating to the questions you had or the pain that you were feeling. This is all systematized, and the only way you do that is by deconstructing each of your engagements, figuring out what the commonalities are and the major milestones associated, and then building the systems and the protocols and the processes to handle that, to provide as high of a client experience as you can. And that's what I think is that's the difference between firms that seem to just have enough work to keep the lights on versus firms that tend to thrive. The firms that tend to thrive are the ones that are thinking intentionally about how they can create a better client experience vehicle. Like, I was just talking to a managing partner today, and it was refreshing because one of the things that he mentioned, he was asking me about using Power BI to give him these predictive insights about his firm so that he could understand what factors are happening outside of his firm and then use that to inform his decisions so he can make business decisions based on data rather than gut feel. And that was just such a refreshing perspective because oftentimes, I have to say it, specifically in the legal profession, many firms operate too much as practitioners. They never take the legal practitioner hat off and put the business owner hat on. And they focus too much about the legal theory and the practice of law. And really the real change doesn't happen until you start thinking about the business of law. You are a business, a for-profit organization, so you have to think about how do you create a profitable model. And the way you do that is by having work that is squarely positioned within your firm's area of expertise. So focusing on what you're really good at and attracting those members that can help to advance that mission. So all too often is you'll see the solo who, claims to be sort of, highly proficient in family law, estate planning. They'll take on guardian ad litem cases. They do real estate. They do some trust and estates work. And it's like, how can they do some criminal law? How can you be a proficient individual at all of those areas on your own and then still have to go out and develop business? One, it's highly confusing for referral partners, because if they don't know what to refer to you, it's going to be very difficult to position you in front of someone that needs legal help. And then two, it divides your focus from being able to really build that choreographed experience, because if you have so many areas that your firm is spread thin across, how do you prioritize which one it makes sense to build those systems and protocols around?
Remember I think we talked last week or the week before, and I'm sorry that the sound was horrible last week. I didn't know the new mic, the new portable, I threw it away. I'm going to use another system if I'm not in my studio.
Yeah, we had
Is that,
many complaints last week, all targeted towards you.
yeah, I know it. I didn't know if I wouldn't knew, I would have put mute. So my apologies. It's not Jay's fault. It was mine. I didn't hear the sound the way you hear it, guy. When I hear it, I would feel horrible.
It's okay. We didn't get complaints about you, but even if we did, I would just be happy to hear from people. It's like, I'm glad you reached out. Thank you.
So with this says, I don't know when it was talking about the underachiever and overachiever.
Right.
So it's clear. Underachiever affect 30% of your team, 20 lawyers, 20 people, 6 to 8 people are down. Overachiever affect only 1.5 people.
Sure.
So you need 10 overachievers to compensate one underachiever.
Sure.
So you need to evaluate if it's not you first, because you're trying to wear all the hats. If you have somebody in your firm that you think that is tearing the other people apart, how much time it take you to babysit that person? A couple of weeks ago, I let go a person that I was under impression that was helping me. When that person disappeared, everybody felt relief. We didn't realize how much this person was affecting us. And we specialize in that because we're going. So now we set new protocols to make sure that we need to make sure, because we're running, we're not forgetting to put the shoes or tie the shoes.
It's well said. Yeah. I'd like to, let's end on a very high note, which again, obviously we have the holidays.
I need to stand up.
So let's, well, Susan, if folks knew your height, that'd be not necessarily ending on the highest of high notes, but maybe a mid-level note.
But, okay. I just take my high heels. Okay, that is your fault.
So we see
that is a badass. That is a badass high heel.
What's going on? Oh, I should.
What do you think?
For some reason, this doesn't surprise me. Yeah, those are bad.
Alexander Marquez special collection. Huh. So the next time that you talk about my high heels, be careful who you're talking to.
There's going to be a meme somewhere out there with me with that comment and those heels next to my face. So it's okay.
In your face.
Right. Let's do this, Susan. I'd like to know, as we obviously go into the holiday season, Thanksgiving tends to be the first, and then the rest of the year is a whirlwind, as we all know. So let's focus on ending the year on the highest note and starting next year with the momentum that we need to carry us towards our goals. What is the most important facet that you would provide as a piece of advice to the attorneys who are looking to create or to adopt the mindsets required in order to move their firm forward meaningfully? What are the top things that they can do in order to analyze their own deficiencies and then to take action, or at least to start concepting what an action plan looks like?
The most difficult thing for lawyers is to ask for help. And when you realize that you need help, even though you're doing really good, is what kind of help you need. You need a front end, admin, tech, coaching for your team. After that is determine who need help in your company, in your firm, in order to grow. And understand that not always is you the person who can help them. The good news to bring somebody from outside is that person have another 100 clients they learn from. Their continued education, lawyers, because they do the continued education, they think that that's all the education they need. No, there is education as a business owners, as a networkers. You need to do what I'm doing, what is working, what I need to stop, and what I need to start. Usually lawyers are sunken on asking for help and networking. So you need to feed the wheel in order to keep feeding the hamsters. Check yourself. Understand yourself that you need to have somebody external to evaluate you. Know your wife, know your business partner, somebody outside. It's nothing wrong to ask for help. More people get hired when they ask for help on the internship than the ones that never ask for help.
True.
Because that is a person that when somebody new come to the company, I always says, as soon as you made a mistake, the first person you need to talk is me. Why? Because when it's a mistake, we can fix it. When it's a dead, it's dead. We only have a funeral. So you need to understand that you need to do that with yourself. So be self-minded, be conscious, know your people. And sometimes I would say every 3 months, knock on the door. Hi, how you doing? Do you have a dog? What is the name of your dog? You can learn that sometimes people is not on the right place. It's not the wrong people. It's the right place for them. And sometimes the people you less expected is the one who help you to grow, bring the better ideas, and always hear the people who hear your clients. Make sense? Always hear the people who hear your clients, because at the end of the day, you have two clients, your people and the people who come and take your services.
Yeah, that lines up with the good to great framework, which is making sure you have the right people on the bus, right? And those folks will ultimately be able to help you hold yourself accountable to the goals that you set. And I think that's one of the most important things. By the way, it looks like Bruce DeMedici also agrees that your heels are a standout component.
I cannot. This is new. Can I see the chat?
It's on the right side. So
I cannot. Okay.
so
Mean heels like Bruce. Thank you very much.
fueled your ego.
I will not gonna share. I had it in all the colors, even purple.
Yeah.
And I had the rings matching the shoes.
Well, listen, Bruce, you're not going to see me pulling out a pair of those, so you'll have to settle for.
Today you never know. Today you never know, love.
No, trust me, we know, and I can make that proclamation now, and it'll hold true.
You're not gonna borrow mine, at least.
No, you don't have to worry about that. So just to wrap us up, I'll give you sort of my quick. I believe that the biggest opportunity for firms to end the year on a high note and to position themselves for growth next year is to start breaking down the information silos. Attorneys tend to operate in a very territorial manner with their relationships with clients, vendors, and other individuals that they bring into the firm, and they tend to, even with the documents that they create in their forms and their contracts and their clauses, the way the way a law firm operates. A firm is sort of it's a collection of multiple business units. Each attorney can be considered their own business unit. But when you share the knowledge across the firm and you create best practices and standards, that's where you then have the ability to do interesting things like bring in automation, AI into your firm, and just make better use of the data that you already have. If it's siloed and their data resides solely with attorneys or individual contributors in your firm, you can't make much sense of that data. It's too fragmented. So that would be my biggest piece of advice to end the year for many law firms.
Only one thing. If you talk to a chef, is going to tell you, in order to do a perfect meal, all the ingredients need to be superb. If all the recipe is perfect, the chef, the kitchen, all the products are perfect, and you have an all bad egg, all the meals go to the trash. So you need to understand, do not underestimate one part of the company that is not working. It's going to mess with all the restaurant.
Well said. And on that note, with restaurants and chefs and ingredients, I hope all of you out there have a phenomenal Thanksgiving. Remember the reason, which is
eat turkey.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was going to say it's more so just to get through one more year with that family member that, just every year they come.
Wait. This is for lawyers. So we have criminal lawyers, we have PIs, we have divorce. Guys, keep watching. This is the time of the year for you. This is your season. Let's be clear. Your problem is my business. Right. Everybody make business. Start sending business cards. That is the time of your year. You're going to sue me.
That's it. And if that's not a business development tip, I don't know what is. All right, folks. Until next time, we will see you after the holidays.